tes mots de tous les jours.
Culture is the soul of a nation, woven into the daily lives of its people and the values they hold dear. It is not just an expression of identity, but also a force that shapes how societies work, innovate, and evolve. Today we delve into two nations, France and Malaysia, and explore how their rich cultural heritages influence their professional worlds, focusing on the timeless art of craftsmanship. In France, craftsmanship is a blend of tradition and innovation. Iconic brands like Chanel and Hermès stand as beacons of French excellence. These maisons or houses are renowned worldwide for their meticulous craftsmanship and commitment to perfection. Every product, from a Chanel bag to a Hermès silk scarf, begins as an idea brought to life by the hands of skilled artisans. These craftsmen undergo years of training to master the craft, embodying France's deep respect for skill and artistry. Their work is not just a job, it's a calling, a reflection of a nation's structure and a detail-oriented work culture. The craftsmanship industry in France is not only a cultural asset, but also an economic powerhouse. Employing thousands, these brands drive global exports and showcase the importance of preserving cultural heritage in a competitive modern economy. Across the world in Malaysia, craftsmanship holds a different yet equally profound meaning. Malaysian artisans celebrate their heritage through vibrant batik designs, shimmering songket textiles, and intricate pewter creations. Each piece tells a story of community, resourcefulness, and creativity. Unlike the luxury-driven focus of French craftsmanship, Malaysian crafts are rooted in tradition and accessibility. They connect generations with skills often passed down within families. These crafts are a source of pride and livelihood, supporting small businesses and preserving cultural identity in a rapidly modernizing world. These creations also serve as ambassadors of Malaysia's rich cultural heritage. While the tools and techniques may have evolved, the essence of these crafts, patience, precision, and passion, remains unchanged. Though France and Malaysia differ in geography, history, and style, their craftsmanship shares a common foundation, a profound respect for tradition and a dedication to excellence. Both nations demonstrate how culture influences not just what we create, but how we create. French artisans work in ateliers, formal workshops with defined hierarchies and standards. Malaysian artisans, on the other hand, often operate in informal, community-driven settings. Yet, in both contexts, the values of hard work, creativity, and pride in one's craft shine through. This parallel reveals a universal truth. Craftsmanship is more than a skill. It's a reflection of the human spirit. By nurturing these traditions, both nations honor their past while inspiring future generations. Thus, what can we learn from these craftsmen? Beyond the beauty of their creations, they teach us the value of patience, precision, and passion in our work. They remind us that excellence is not achieved through shortcuts, but through dedication to mastering one's craft. As the world grows more interconnected, the importance of cultural preservation becomes clearer. French and Malaysian artisans show us how heritage and modernity can coexist, creating work that is not only beautiful, but meaningful. Craftsmanship is a bridge between culture and work, connecting people to their roots and to each other. In France, Malaysia, and beyond, it tells the story of who we are and what we value. By celebrating these traditions, we ensure that the artistry, discipline, and spirit of human creativity endure for generations to come.
Bonjour à tous, and welcome to our cross-cultural management group project. As we can see, we're all dressed in our finest marinière today, a clothing usually worn by French sailors, because we're about to embark you on our insightful journey. I'm excited to guide you through our strategic country selection, delve into the fascinating differences in communication styles between our chosen nations, and finally, offer a concluding reflection on the applicability of these insights in the broader international business landscape. Firstly, let's discuss our country selection, Malaysia and France. This wasn't a random choice. It was a deliberate decision rooted in several key factors that highlight the broad spectrum of cultural diversity relevant to international business. For Malaysia, our rationale was incredibly rich, multicultural tapestry. Malaysia is a melting pot of Malay, Chinese, and Indian cultures, each bringing distinct traditions, values, and critically communication norms to the business table. This makes it an ideal study case for understanding how different cultural backgrounds coexist and interact within a national business environment. Furthermore, Malaysia's growing economy and strategic location in Southeast Asia makes it a significant player in regional and global trade, necessitating a deep understanding of its unique business etiquette. We wanted to explore how its high-context culture shapes negotiations and interactions. Then we have France, a country often perceived through a lens of sophisticated culture and rigorous logic. Our selection of France was driven by its distinct European business ethos, which often contrasts sharply with Asian approaches. French business culture emphasizes hierarchy, formality, intellectual rigorous, and a strong reliance on logical arguments. We aim to highlight how these values translate into their negotiation processes and communication styles, which are often direct and explicit. The contrast between Malaysia's emphasis on harmony and indirectness versus France's directness and logical argumentation provides a rich comparative analysis revealing the vast differences one might encounter in global business. These two nations therefore serve as excellent prototypes for exploring the complexities of cross-cultural communications and negotiation in international business endeavors.
Bonjour, when it comes to negotiating in France, there are a few cultural nuances that can make or break the deal. Let's take a closer look at the tips and process for navigating negotiation with French business professionals. First, formality matters a lot. Always address people by their titles and surname. Being too casual too early may be seen as disrespectful. Professionalism is expected from the very beginning. Next, focus on logical argument. French negotiators respect intellectual debate and value. Structure reasoning, so bring your facts, data, and clear proposal. Emotional appeals or let's be friends approaches may not work as well as here. Debate is a normal and respected part of the negotiation process. If your ideas are challenged, it's not personal. It's a sign that they are engaged and interested. Also, making an effort to speak a bit of French, even just greetings or simple phrases, shows cultural respect and can leave a good impression.
Bonjour!
Bonjour.
Bonjour! The typical negotiation process in France begins with a formal introduction. Often, this goes through an assistant or secretary. Once contact is made, you will move to the proposal stage where detailed documentation is appreciated. Then comes the discussion phase, which can be intense. Be prepared for deep questions and critical evaluations. Decision-making can take time. The French prefer to reflect and analyze before committing. Don't push them for quick answers. It might be backfired. Now, let's shift our focus to Malaysia. In Malaysian business culture, relationship comes first. Before any serious negotiation begins, it is important to build support and establish mutual trust. Malaysians value indirect communication. That means being polite, using soft language, and avoiding direct confrontation or saying no openly. Face saving is important. You will notice that Malaysians often speak in a way that maintains a harmony and avoid embarrassment, especially in public settings. Unlike the structured approach in France, Malaysian negotiation can be more flexible and adaptable. It is common for discussion to flow more informally. Professional being addressed with title. Hierarchy is very respected, so always address people by their titles like Dato, Encik or Puan and defer to the most senior person in the room. Punctuality is appreciated, but don't be surprised if the meeting starts a bit late and decision may take time, so always follow up professionally. In summary, build relationship, be polite and indirect with Malaysian, respect hierarchy and follow up consistently. These are the key to a successful negotiation in Malaysia.
France's bargaining culture is shaped by its high context, individualistic, and hierarchical society. According to Hofstede's Cultural Dimensions, France scores 86 in uncertainty avoidance, meaning that French negotiators prefer clear structures, detailed planning, and well-defined rules. During negotiations that they do, they typically come well prepared, often relying on documentation, formal presentations, and legal frameworks to support their positions. They emphasize is on logical reasoning, rational argumentation, and intellectual debate, which reflects the French education systems that focus on critical thinking and also eloquence. Additionally, France has a power distance score of 68, indicating respect for authority and a top-down decision-making process. Senior executives often have the final say, and it is very common for negotiations to be delayed while awaiting decisions from higher-level authorities. This is totally different from egalitarian cultures where consensus is prioritized. French negotiators also value formality and professionalism, which is evident in the way they conduct meetings, appointments are scheduled in advance, and punctuality is expected, and the use of formal titles like Monsieur or Madam is standard. Next, in terms of communication, the French are typically high context communicators, but less so than Malaysians. They do not usually engage in small talk for long. Instead, they get straight to the point, but they still expect diplomatic language and respect for nuance. Bargaining may involve intense discussions, but emotional expressions is kept in check and confrontation is seen as part of healthy debate rather than conflict. They also tend to take a long-term perspective in negotiations, aiming for stable and durable agreements rather than quick wins. Overall, French bargaining is characterized by a combination of formal structure, analytical discourse, and centralized authority. Malaysia's bargaining behavior reflects its collectivist, hierarchical, and high-context cultural values. With a power distance score of 100, Malaysia is one of the highest in the world, meaning negotiations are strongly influenced by respect for hierarchy and seniority. People are generally deferential to those in authority, and decisions often come from top leadership after internal group consultation. This can slow down the negotiation process, however, it ensures internal harmony and organizational alignment. It is considered inappropriate to bypass or question their superiors in public, which also affects how bargaining positions are presented and challenged. Malaysia also has a low individualism score of 26, indicating a strong preference for group consensus and harmony. This means negotiators avoid direct confrontation and prioritize relationship building over hard bargaining, establishing personal trust known locally as Guanxi in Chinese communities or kekeluargaan in Malay is crucial before meaningful negotiations can begin. Initial meetings may focus on getting to know each other rather than the subject matter. It's common for Malaysians to use indirect communication styles, avoiding the word no and using softer expressions like we will consider or maybe to decline offers without causing embarrassment. Furthermore, saving face is a key concept in Malaysian culture. Causing someone to lose face, whether through public criticism or aggressive negotiation tactics, can damage relationships irreparably. Nonverbal cues, tones, and silence carry significant meaning, and being too blunt can be seen as rude or disrespectful. Negotiations are also often flexible with time. Being patient and showing cultural sensitivity are more important than sticking rigidly to schedules. Bargaining tends to be subtle, with both parties seeking a win-win outcome that maintains mutual respect. In this context, Malaysia's negotiation style is relationship-oriented, indirect, and consensus-driven, which contrasts sharply with France's direct, logic-based, and authority-centered approach.
Now let's talk about decision making in the French business environment. One of the most important things to understand are how centralized the process is. In many French companies, final decisions are made by top executives even if the team is involved in discussion. The authority usually rests with senior management. The process is highly analytical. Decisions are based on data, logic, and long-term strategic planning. Quick, impulsive decisions are rare. French decision-making is methodical and takes time. It's a deliberate process that includes careful evaluation of all options and risks. French professionals can be risk-averse. They prefer to reduce uncertainty by analyzing every detail before moving forward. While input from team members is valued, the final say usually comes from the top. This top-down approach reflects the hierarchical structures common in French organizations. To wrap up, French decision-making is centralized, analytical, and cautious. Patient and well-prepared proposals are your best tools for success. Thank you. Explore how decisions are made in Malaysia compared to France's top-down model. Malaysian decision-making often leads toward group consensus. Before a decision is made, it's common to involve different stakeholders for input. This reflects that Malaysian value of harmony and mutual respect. That said, hierarchy still matters. While the group gives input, the most senior person usually makes the final decision. Decisions are typically cautious and measured. Risk is taken, but only after discussion and evaluations. It is also important to recognize that Malaysia is multicultural decision-making. Styles may vary depending on whether you are dealing with a Malay, Chinese, or Indian majority organization. In Malaysia, decision-making balances consciousness with authority, respecting cultural diversity and hierarchy are key to successful outcomes.
In Malaysia, communication is high context, meaning much is conveyed through nonverbal cues, shared understanding, and indirect language. Silence, a polite smile, or subtle gestures often carry important messages. This indirectness reflects a cultural emphasis on harmony and avoiding confrontation. As we saw with Kikamina, Building rapport often precedes any business interaction. In contrast, French follows a low context style. Communication is direct, logical, and explicit. Disagreements are openly addressed, not as personal attacks but as a part of rational exchange. Monsieur Dubois, for example, used clear arguments and direct questioning. Eye contact and precise language are key, and eloquence is highly valued, even if it may seem abrupt to high context cultures. Now, imagine a similar exchange unfolding in a French business meeting, perhaps over lunch in a place like this restaurant.
Mad- Madam, this proposal is flawed in its financial projections for quarter three. The data does not support your revenue estimates.
J'ai bien compris. My analysis is based on robust market research. Can you present your empirical evidence to support your claim?
Here, the communication is explicit, and challenges are met with direct requests for data and logical argumentation. The contrast is stark, where Malaysia prioritizes harmony and indirectness, France prioritizes clarity and directness, recognizes these fundamental differences in verbal and nonverbal cues. It's not just about politeness, it's about effectively decoding messages, building trust, and ultimately steering negotiation towards mutually beneficial outcomes. Malaysian communication styles are often indirect and high context. This means much of the meaning is conveyed through nonverbal cues, shared understanding, and context rather than explicit verbal statements.
Thank you, Ernysha. I appreciate your effort. I think we are on the right track.
Thank you, Sofea. I'll get the summary ready immediately.
Silence can convey thoughtfulness or disagreement. Maintaining eye contact is polite, but prolonged direct staring might be considered confrontational. Body language is generally reserved, and a polite smile can smooth over many interactions.
France approaches conflict in a direct and assertive manner, influenced by its individualistic by Hofstede score of 71 and moderately high power distance of 68 culture. In professional settings, conflict is often seen as a normal and even necessary part of a dialogue, especially when used to challenge ideas and drive innovation. French professionals are typically not afraid to express their disagreement openly, and debate is considered intellectually stimulating rather than confrontational. The high uncertainty avoidance scores of 86 means that while the French prefer clear rules and structured processes, they also value resolving disputes through logical analysis, formal discussions, and well-defined legal or organizational procedures. A hallmark of the French approach to conflict is the rational and impersonal tone used in discussions. Conflict is treated as an issue of ideas or systems, not personalities. This stems from the Cartesian influence in French thought, where logic and objectivity are valued above their emotions. When conflict arises, parties are expected to argue the case confidently, sometimes passionately, but within the bounds of politeness and formality. It is very common to reference policies, contracts, or expert opinions to justify one's stance. Criticisms, when given, is usually direct but framed with intellectual credibility. Leaders and managers are expected to take decisive roles in mediating and resolving issues, especially when it affects performance or legal standing. Moreover, in hierarchical French workplaces, employees may be open to voicing concerns, but ultimately the final decisions still lie with the top management. Conflict resolution may involve formal channels such as HR procedures or legal arbitration if internal dialogue fails. However, while the French are open to open criticism and assertive negotiations, they still value professionalism and expect conflict to be managed within established frameworks. This results in a conflict style that is analytical, direct, and policy-driven, contrasting significantly with more collectivist cultures. Malaysia in contrast, employs a more direct and harmony-preserving approach to conflict management shaped by its very high-power distance of 100, low individualism of 26, and high-context communication style. In Malaysian workplaces, open conflicts is generally avoided as it is seen as disruptive to group cohesion and disrespectful to authority. Maintaining harmony, preserving faith, and showing respect is prioritized over winning an argument or asserting individuals' opinions. When disagreements occur, they are often addressed privately and discreetly rather than in public settings. Malaysians typically avoid saying no outright and may use vague or soft language to signal disapproval or disagreement. For example, instead of rejecting an idea directly, a Malaysian manager might say, "Let's revisit this later," or "We'll consider other options." This approach helps to avoid embarrassment or confrontation, which are seen as damaging to interpersonal relationships and long-term cooperation. Because Malaysian culture emphasizes collectivism, conflict is viewed as a shared problem, and the solution must benefit the group or organization, not just the individual. Consensus building is the key, and decisions are usually made only after informal discussions with all stakeholders. The role of hierarchy is especially important. Subordinates are unlikely to challenge superiors openly, and conflict resolution is often mediated by higher ranking individuals. It is very common for managers to act as mediators, using tact and diplomacy to resolve tensions without directly confronting the issue head-on. Culturally, Malaysians also integrate values from Islam, Buddhism, and Confucianism that teaches us emphasizing patience, humility, and mutual respect. As a result, forgiveness and reconciliation are part of the conflict management process. The goal usually is to restore harmony rather than trying to win an argument, making Malaysia's conflict style to be indirect, relational, and de-escalatory.
In conclusion, exploring Malaysian and French negotiation styles revealed how deeply culture shapes communication, decision-making, and conflict resolution. Malaysia emphasizes relationships, indirect communications, and group consensus, while France values directness, logic, and structured decision-making. These insights show that global business success requires cultural intelligence, the ability to adapt, listen, and bridge differences. Strong international partnerships are built on understanding and respect. Merci.
It's okay.
Merci.